the headlines, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge set to visit tomorrow. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago launches a national blood drive. And in sports, the West Indies and England played to a draw on the weekend. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gill. The stage is set for this week's royal visit to Jamaica. The 3-day visit of William, Duke of Cambridge, and Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, officially begins tomorrow. The royal couple is due to arrive at the Norman Manley International Airport shortly after 2 p.m. on Tuesday. On arrival, they will make a courtesy call on Governor-General Sir Patrick Allen and Lady Allen at King's House before attending sporting and cultural assignments. On Wednesday, their Royal Highnesses will pay a courtesy call on Prime Minister Andrew Holness and visit the Shortwood Teachers College in St. Andrew, where they will meet Education Minister Favour Williams, researchers, teachers, and Grade 3 students. In their packed schedule, the couple will also make stops at the Spanish Town Hospital in St. Catherine and the Caribbean Infantry Training Center in St. James before closing off the day with a state dinner at King's House. On Thursday, the final day of their trip to Jamaica, their Royal Highnesses will participate in a Jamaica Defence Force commissioning parade, call on Chief of Defence Staff Rear Admiral Antoinette Weymouth-Gorman, and attend an Officers Club reception. This visit is part of a 3-nation Caribbean tour. On Saturday, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge arrived in Belize for a visit that was marred by protests. After leaving Jamaica, the couple will round out their tour in the Bahamas. The public is being advised that the Jamaica Defence Force, JDF, is conducting rehearsals using ceremonial explosives at the Norman Manley International Airport, Kingston, in preparation for the visit of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge on March 22. The JDF, in a statement to the press, is advising residents from surrounding communities and passerbys that there is no need to be alarmed by the explosives. However, every effort must be made to avoid entering any restricted area. Residents are also asked not to interfere with or move caution signs or flags. In the event that unexploded ordnances or paraphernalia are found, please report it to the JDF headquarters at telephone number 876-926-8121-9. Some Jamaicans are giving a positive feedback to Prime Minister Andrew Holness's decision to withdraw the Disaster Risk Management Act, the DRMA. Jamaicans have been forced to endure several restrictions over the past 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, as of March 18, the restriction orders have been lifted. The PBCJ news team took to the streets to find out how Jamaicans feel about it and the resultant reopening of the entertainment sector.
It's an excellent thing at this point in time. The country needs, or the people in general, needs free movement to do just as they like.
I don't know Jamaican people stay already. It's a hard thing for broke out or something when they get to in or something, trust me. And furthermore, much over our health. And for we are pre-health right now, we don't visit where nobody was, so we have our mass same way, you know.
I'm glad it lift, you know. I'm glad none of them did about again.
Him drop it and let it go, you know. But he try to tighten up and look a bit, it should let it so quick.
The entertainment sector deserves a chance again because it has been done for a while now. So I think it's a good move by the Prime Minister, knowing that he's looking out for the entertainment industry.
When I heard that it's going to open, I was excited. But you know, as I said, all we have to do, wear a mask same way, a social distance same way. You know, we just know distance from people. But I love that. It's a good look so far.
Yeah, that sounds good so far. You understand me? But the people have still know about but use the protocol same way. Can you understand me? Because this thing is really dead out right, full out, you know. But we just get a little chance. So it's possible them can do it still. But protocol same way.
No mining or related activities will be allowed in stipulated segments of the Cockpit country, which has now been designated as a protected area. The announcement was made by Prime Minister Andrew Holness as he made his contribution to the 2022-2023 budget debate in the House of Representatives.
I am proud to advise these honourables that the work to declare 78,024 hectares of the Cockpit country a protected area is complete. Again in my hand is the gazetted order under the NRCA Act, which provides binding legal protection to the area displayed on the map. It is important to note that the protected area is approximately 3,229 hectares larger than the 74,726 hectares which was announced in 2017.
The Convention on Biological Diversity, to which Jamaica is a party, defines a protected area as a clearly defined geographical space, recognized, dedicated, and managed through legal or other effective means to achieve the long-term conservation of nature with associated ecosystem services and cultural values. Mr. Holness also informed that the order to designate the Black River Protected Area in St. Elizabeth has been gazetted and has now been brought into effect. From January 1 to March 14, the country recorded an 11% reduction in major crimes when compared to the corresponding period last year. So says Prime Minister Andrew Holness. The country has recorded 967 major crimes during the period, the lowest incidence of major crimes since 2010.
The recently launched JDF Anti-Gang Task Force has been operational, and their efforts so far have been reaping significant success. Murders are down by 5.2%. They are now at 292 compared to 308. At this point, Madam Speaker, shootings are down by 19%. There are now 222 shootings compared to 274. We have, Madam Speaker, 196 firearms have been seized, which to date, might be even more, which represents an overall increase of 26% and a 100% increase in rifle seizures.
The Prime Minister had this to say about people sending guns to Jamaica.
Stop it! Stop it! We will find you and we will ask for your extradition back to Jamaica to serve time in a Jamaican prison.
Mr. Holness touted the success of the Get Every Illegal Gun campaign and highlighted changes that will come to the Firearm Licensing Authority.
The government has already initiated adjustments to the operations of the FLA to prevent impropriety in the issuing of gun permits. Further amendments will be made to the Firearms Bill to remove the discretion of a minister to grant firearms licenses, to require fit and proper standards and security vetting for members of the board, to require security vetting and polygraphs for all staff in sensitive posts at the FLA, and to clearly define persons who are prohibited from applying for a firearm.
The St. James Municipal Corporation, through its Disaster Preparedness, Hazard Mitigation and Safety Committee, will be staging a major earthquake simulation exercise on March 28 across the town of Montego Bay. The simulation exercise will be carried out in partnership with key stakeholders, including the Ministry of Tourism, the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, Jamaica Fire Brigade, Jamaica Constabulary Force, Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Jamaica Information Service. While earthquake drills would be carried out independently by entities across the resort town, the major simulation exercise organized by the Disaster Preparedness, Hazard Mitigation and Safety Committee would be held at the Joe's Grand Resort in Rose Hall. Following the exercise, the municipal corporation will assist companies with gaps in their disaster management plan to strengthen and streamline the document. Preparations are underway for the staging of the 9th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference. This was announced by Undersecretary of Diaspora, Protocol and Consular Affairs Division in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Franz Hall, who was speaking at a recently held Jamaica Information Service think tank. The conference will take place from June 14 to 16 under the theme Reigniting a Nation for Greatness.
We certainly have a lot to look forward to in the staging of this conference. I should add that because of the continuing effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and the uncertainties now increasingly about increased cases in other countries and potential impacts here in Jamaica, we decided that we would have a hybrid conference, which will focus mainly on the virtual part. I could share here that we intend to focus on those areas that are of traditional importance and interest to the diaspora: education, health, security, but we are putting all of that within the context of the digital transformation of Jamaica. So we are looking forward to an engaging, dynamic, interesting conference that will provide lots of innovative ideas as to how we can proceed in these areas. Of course, as the process unfolds and develops, more information will be released on the conference.
Government is looking to achieve infrastructure-led economic growth over the next few years. So says Minister of Finance and Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark.
We're not in a position where we intend to pursue infrastructure projects in open, competitive processes, and we hope big construction firms from many of your countries will show an interest in the projects that are going to come on stream. We're working with the IFC to put together competitive processes, and we hope that over the next 3 years or so, we could have easily more than $1 billion US dollars of infrastructure projects coming in.
He was speaking during a ministerial briefing at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in downtown Kingston last Thursday. The briefing formed part of activities marking Diplomatic Week 2022 from March 8 to 10 under the theme Reigniting a Nation Global Excellence or Mission. He stressed that with Jamaica recovering faster than any other Caribbean nation and debt levels by the end of the year being the lowest it has ever been in 22 years, he hopes to maintain the growth momentum. And one way to do this is by attracting large-scale investment.
We just had an RFP, which closes today, for integrated resort development, which are these mega resorts that have not just hotel rooms, but have entertainment complex, potentially casino gambling and so forth. Minimum of 1,000 rooms, and of which 500 must be luxury rooms, and a minimum of a $500 million investment. So we expect that to yield about $1 billion US of investment in the short term. We have a lot of interest in it, and multiple parties bidding for 2 licenses.
He added that based on the national response, Jamaica is poised to continue recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic and is a place that investors can do very well. Next, we have the latest market updates in the Business Report with Danita Rodney.
In foreign exchange trading for Friday, March 18, the US dollar sold for an average of $153.57. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $121.71. The pound sterling traded for $201.46, and the euro sold for an average of $170.91. The following reflects the movement of the JSE indices in Friday's trading session. The JSE index advanced by 1,620 points to close at over 300,000 units. The junior market index advanced by 76 points to close at over 4,000 units. The combined market index advanced by 2,195 points to close at over 300,000 units. And the All Jamaican Composite Index advanced by 1,319 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 107 stocks, of which 52 advanced, 39 declined, and 16 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, 1834 Investments Limited, and Access Financial Services Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and CAC 2009.5% Cumulative Redeemable Preference Shares. Trading firm were AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, and Consolidated Bakeries Jamaica Limited. Wigton Wind Farm Limited Ordinary Shares was the volume leader with over 13 million units, followed by Edufocal Limited with over 11 million units and JFP Limited with over 9 million units. In regional stocks, the Barbados Stock Exchange saw First Caribbean International Bank as the volume leader with over 5,700 shares. They were followed by Eplic Caribbean Property Development Fund and West India Biscuit Company Limited, which traded for 3,970 and 74 shares respectively. In Trinidad and Tobago, NCB Financial Group Limited was the volume leader with over 300,000 shares, changing hands for a value of over $2.7 million, followed by Grace Kennedy Limited with a volume of over 74,000 shares being traded for over $400,000. In market data for oil prices jumped more than $3 on Monday as European Union nations considered joining the United States in a Russian oil embargo and after a weekend attack on Saudi oil facilities. Brent crude futures were up $3.40 or 3.2% at $111.33 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose $3.65 or 3.5% to $108.35 a barrel. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Denida Rodney.
In news from across the region, in Trinidad and Tobago, President of the SEWATT, Revan Tilok Singh, is seeking to improve the way blood is collected with the launch of a national blood drive. Terrian Brown Campbell has the story.
Blood saves lives. In the event of an accident, most persons will find that they need a transfusion of blood to survive. This is the point being made by President of SEWATT, Revan Tilok Singh, as he launched his organization's blood drive on Sunday.
We are going to launch a national plan where we'll have a specific website that will coordinate and allow appointments where people could make appointments to give blood at various locations.
Mr. Tilok Singh says he is working with stakeholders including the Ministry of Health and the National Blood Bank to help improve the collection levels of blood across the country.
It's time for us to move to full voluntary donation, and in order to do so, we have to rally as a nation. Giving blood is the most patriotic thing that one could do.
He adds on Sunday he expected to collect more than 60 units from donors. Meanwhile, former MP for St. Augustine Prakash Ramadas says he has been a blood donor for the last 36 years.
I was made to understand that 1 pint of blood can save up to 3 lives because there are 3 different components of it. And the price that we pay, if at all, is time and effort.
SEWATT will work with stakeholders to collect blood from Sunday until June 14th, World Blood Donor Day. Terrian Brown Campbell, TTT News.
In Barbados, students are receiving training thanks to a program offered by the UWI Open Campus to several secondary schools. Soft and other skills needed for the workplace are being imparted to some students. This is to lessen the overwhelming feeling many school leavers may have. Wendy Burke from CBC has more.
The complaint about school leavers not being well equipped with interpersonal or soft skills needed for the workplace is being addressed through the Preparing Today for Tomorrow's Challenges program. It has been ongoing since 2015 and is facilitated by the UWI Open Campus. Facilitator Sandra Griffith-Carrington says the range of topics includes conflict resolution and effective communication.
We've found that some students really, they need to do something with their vocab. If you ask them how they are, you hear, I'm fine. That's not enough. And then we went to effective communication so that they're not only preparing themselves with their right attitude, having self-confidence, which is another thing that is lacking. A lot of our students don't have self-confidence, but now we are preparing them to communicate.
Former Coegan Parish student Keisha Trotman says the program helped her secure a job.
It was a very nice experience for me. It gave me an opportunity to see what the world of work was like. The program itself is amazing. Mrs. Griffith-Carrington does her best to deal with the students, and it is all good.
The program also deals with telephone and email etiquette, as well as social media. Dealing with difficult persons and conflict resolution are also covered because of conflicts within the school setting.
We recognize that over the years there have been an increase in violence at some schools. There have been an increase in violence in Barbados generally, and we wanted to curb it from there.
Mrs. Griffith-Carrington points out that over the years, a number of topics were added based on some glaring shortcomings. One of them is dining etiquette.
We have several returning fifths who will tell you that today is the first time that they will be in a restaurant. I'm talking about fine dining. So we decided that we were going to teach them dining etiquette. In the early days, when Mr. Alvin Gemma was the general manager at Divi, we used to have the sessions at Divi. In recent times, the Mount Restaurant, which is located on the Cayfield campus compound, has agreed, so they set up the Mount Restaurant especially for them.
Teacher at the St. Michael's School, Reverend O'Neill, says the program prepares the students for life in general.
We look at their ambition, their goals, and we look at their desire in life. I have to prepare them. We run the program with the university to help them to deal with things like job applications, what they expect, and dealing with persons that will help them to reach those goals. We also look at their brand, how they promote themselves.
The program will add entrepreneurship and mental health in the September term, given the impact the students say the pandemic has had on them. Wendy Burke, CBC News.
In the Bahamas, former Prime Minister Perry Christie has expressed to the media his thoughts about the performance of the Davies administration as they approach their first 6 months in office. Sasha Lightburn has the details.
I'm pleased with what they're doing, and in fact, Mr. Davis has allowed me to come in to make some recommendations. And I'm hoping as I look to those recommendations I'm making that some of them will materialize, like for example BAMSI, materialize into real dynamic action in our country that will result positively in improving the lives of Bahamians.
The Davis administration has been in office for just over 6 months. Some may say they've done well, while others may share a different view. Former Prime Minister Perry Christie shared with the media this week just exactly how he feels about the government's first 6 months in office.
When there is a major division in the country, the government has to make a decision, on that. And the government has to make a decision and be prepared to stand or fall on that decision. And so I'm very, very supportive of them and these major social initiatives that Mr. Ryan Clint is bringing forth for his colleagues, or the colleagues bringing forth for themselves to look at. And I'm hoping, therefore, that they simply continue to demonstrate the courage of their conviction, the courage of their belief in that.
Christie also noted that he's happy that current Prime Minister Philip Davis is dealing directly with legislation on gender-based violence issues, including marital rape.
We've had this extraordinary level of experience Most decisions we've done, good or bad, mistakes we've made, we know how to avoid them. And we can be very useful to a government.
Meanwhile, the former Prime Minister says he believes that both he and former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham still have a lot to offer from a backseat position for any government in power.
Have this extraordinary level of experience. Most decisions we've done, good or bad, mistakes we've made, we know how to avoid them. And we can be very useful to a government.
Reporting for our News Weekend, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
In sports, sprint star Brianna Williams has made history despite not medaling in her first individual outing on the world stage. On Friday, Williams finished in 5th place at the World Athletics Indoor Championships in Belgrade, Serbia. In a post on Instagram, Brianna stated, quote, "I came to the championships with the 5th fastest time and placed 5th overall in the finals. But look at the times, down to the milliseconds." She continued, quote, "I did want to leave with a medal, but we can't always have what we want. I'm so happy with my progress thus far and to have lowered my PB in the 60 meters twice," end quote. Coach Otto Bolton, who had predicted the youngest Olympic medalist in Jamaica's track and field history would do well, is quoted saying, "Take a bow. No 19-year-old woman has ever run 60 meters faster," end quote. On Sunday, the West Indies and England played to a draw on the 5th and final day of the second Apex test at Kensington Oval. England needed 10 wickets to take a 1-0 lead, while the Windies were set an unlikely 282 runs for victory in 65 overs. In the end, player of the match, captain Craig Brathwaite, finished unbeaten on 56 to follow up his 160 in the first innings, and Joshua Da Silva 30. Earlier, England declared their second innings at lunch on 185 for 6. And with that, we call an end to today's newscast. On behalf of our entire news and production team, thank you so much for watching.